Good morning. Things are always crazy, right? Life has a way of being a little crazy most of the time. Sometimes days like today when you get the text at 5:15 that your worship leader's sick, it's gonna be gone. There's the thing I always kind of laugh at, because we had things that we were going to implement today that we just weren't able to, just to try to help things out. And my dad always told me, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans. So we're hearing God laugh a little bit, I guess. But today, we are going to be in Judges chapter 12, verses 1 through 7. And I titled the sermon, Change or Change. And you'll understand where we come from. Change is something that I think everybody really hates. We talk about a lot, we want change, we want to see progress, we want to see these, but when you actually start to bring in change, nobody's really that happy. If you are the one that has that habit, you're not like, yeah, let's change it. Who here gets up at the exact same time every day of the week? Anybody? Okay, several of us get up at the exact same time every week. Who eats dinner at the exact same time, unless you're eating out or something, but you eat dinner at almost the exact same time every week? Anybody? Just a few? Do you eat lunches? If you're like me and you can take breaks whenever you want, you try to take them at the same time. You want to do the job, you have a routine when you get to work. The first thing I do, I log in and I log into the billion things I have to log into, and I check my email. It's usually to see if there's anything I need to address immediately, stuff like that. The next thing I do, you move on here, and I do the same thing every morning. And Kristen has her routine. She leaves at the same time. We have the things we do before we leave. We make sure we get up at 5, 5:10, 5:15, whenever we'll stop hitting snooze on the alarm, and we'll have Bible and reading time, and it's the same time. Then we go walk the dogs every day, and then when we get home, she takes the dogs downstairs. I start the coffee. You see the pattern. We have a routine. So change isn't something that people look forward to most of the time. Some change is good. They say variety is the spice of life, but we all know if you put too much spice in something, it's not very good. You ever overspice something? I have. It is terrible. So while change may be good in some circumstances and some ability and some level, it's never that good when you have a ton of it all at once. At least for ourselves, because it pushes us to be a little less comfortable. When I was first out of high school, I got a job working for T-Mobile. I worked in the job everybody loves to do, doing customer service, answering a phone call. Everyone loves that kind of job. And, obviously people were beating down the door trying to get the job, because everyone loves to answer phones. So I got that job working out of high school, and there was something there that was always constant, and that was change. At United Healthcare, where I work now, that is our motto. I'm pretty sure it should say that underneath our logo. The only thing constant is change. If it's not the motto for everyone outside the company, it's definitely it within. They changed my department name this last week, and we're changing everything. And they'll change it again in a year and a half or 2 years, and they'll change something else. And it's just constant change. It's the only thing consistent. When I worked there, my schedule got changed every few months at T-Mobile. Because call centers, you can't be only open between 8 and 5. Because if you need to call someone because your phone bill is $1,000, you're probably not going to be able to call them during work. So you need to have time. So I work from 6 a.m. to 2:30 on one shift. I work from noon to 11 on another shift. And it changed every few months. I was a top 100 rep, which means I was part of the top people, so I could usually pick my schedule whatever I wanted. Well, I picked a schedule to work with a friend who was my senior. I did his wedding in February. He would have been our support person. Hey, I got a question. I need to ask you this. I worked with him instead of picking a team that would have been better schedule-wise. When I was on that team, though, my scores, because they had to score these calls every week, every time you had a few calls, they would score and be like, you're doing really great, or you need to get better. I got the lowest scores I ever had on that team. So I was praying, I said, God, I need you to change this for me. I need a new team, because obviously this boss is out to get me. We all know our minds. So I changed and went to a different team, and you know what happened? My scores didn't change. Not immediately. So I realized maybe I don't need my situation changed, but I needed myself changed. And that's the type of change that we're talking about today. It's understanding that there's change where our situations may need to change. It may be something that God can improve, God can help. But sometimes we need God to change us. Sometimes the problem starts here. Sometimes the problem ends here. A lot of times the problem starts and ends here. And we try to do everything we can to dance around it and hope that it's not there. But we try to fix it through fixing other means. We were talking about the South, to use a great Southern term, it's just putting lipstick on a pig. You're not fixing the problem, you're just trying to dress it up and make it look pretty. So that's where I fell in that situation. I blamed everything but me. So the question is, have you ever been there? Have you ever had that situation that everything seemed wrong and you were praying that God would change the situation, and then He does, and it's not any better? Sometimes it's even worse. We've seen that recently, where the situation can get worse by it changing. Right? You've been there? I've been there. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes we need God to change us instead of changing the situation, to change the way we do things, the way we think of things. Because when something is wrong, we want to do our natural human nature is to blame anybody but ourselves. Like, I'll ask a question, and I don't want anyone to raise their hands. I don't want anyone looking at their spouses or anything like that. But when somebody is wrong, Ron, I saw that. When somebody is wrong, what's your spouse's immediate reaction? Is it to say, I'm sorry? Or is it to bluff up and be like, oh, no, it's this and this and this? Or, well, you did this. Or what's your immediate reactions? I know mine. And it's not usually to say, I'm sorry immediately. I got to get there, but it's usually not immediate. I got to see where I was wrong. Just to prove this is a normal thing for people. My dad's accident he had in September when he was leaving, he got in an accident in Kentucky. My dad was in the left lane. If you guys don't know what the left lane is, that's the passing lane. Some of us aren't great with directions going left and right. It's the passing lane. It's the fast lane, whatever you may call it where you're from. He's in the left lane, passing a car, going like 50, 55 in the slow lane. The lady swerves across in front of him to turn around where the police turn around, those emergency turnaround spots. And, he hits her because she swerves across right in front of him. Her excuse why it was my dad's fault was she went as far left as possible. Now, I'm not a mathematician or an accident investigator, but if someone's in the left lane, you go as far left as possible, you're probably going to hit the person that's in the left lane. Like, that makes sense to me. But that's her immediate reaction to say, I did what I could. But the problem wasn't that she got all the way over, it wasn't that she turned around or anything like that, it's that she went over in front of someone else. Her reaction wasn't to say, I did something wrong, it was to say, well, I did the best I could. Our logic is to blame anything but ourselves. And we'll see that here in the scripture in Judges chapter 12. Last week we got to talk about our buddy Jephthah, whatever you want to call him. We call him Jep for short. It's a lot easier to say. I feel like he's one of the Duck Dynasty guys now. He's got a big beard probably. It's biblical, so it's good chances. As we kind of talked about, he is a Robin Hood type character. He's got his group of merry men. They're all with men wearing tights, and they're going around and they're gallivanting around, I guess you could say. So, but in all seriousness, though, they were a group of people who were trying to help. But he was a natural leader, and none of his family saw that. None of his family wanted anything to do with him because his mom wasn't someone that they respected, so they wanted nothing to do with him. They ended up crawling back to him, asked him to be their leader, and then now he's their leader, and now he's coming back from having won last week, having won victory. And that's where we'll pick up in chapter 12, verses 1, and we'll go 1 through 7. Looks like I'm missing a slide. It's backwards somehow. That's cool. Verse 1, Then the men of Ephraim were summoned, and they crossed to Zaphon and said to Jeb, Why did you cross over to fight against the sons of Ammon without calling us to go with you? We will burn your house down on you. They were pretty mad that they went and won this war without them. That's not most people's reaction. We will burn your house down on you. Jeb said to them, I and my people were at great strife with the sons of Ammon when I called you. You did not deliver me from their hand. They were all messed up. I don't know what happened there. Yeah. Well, I'll read from the rest from my Bible here. When I saw that you would not deliver me, I took my life in my hands and crossed over against the sons of Ammon, and the Lord gave them into my hand. Why then have you come up to me this day to fight against me? Then Jeb gathered all the men of Gilead and fought Ephraim, and the men of Gilead defeated Ephraim, because they said, You are fugitives of Ephraim, O Gileadites, in the midst of Ephraim and in the midst of Manasseh. The Gileadites captured the fords of the Jordan opposite Ephraim, and it happened when any of the fugitives of Ephraim said, Let me cross over, the men of Gilead would say to them, Are you an Ephraimite? If he said no, then they would say to him, Say now, Shibboleth. I don't even know how to say it. But he said, Sibboleth, for he could not pronounce it correctly. Then they seized him and slew him at the fords of Jordan. Thus there fell at the time 42,000 of Ephraim. Jeb judged Israel 6 years, and Jeb the Gileadite died and was buried in one of the cities of Gilead. Like I said, I don't know what happened. Things got out of order. It happens. Technology. Gotta love it. So Jeb goes in, he wins this war. Then people come to him, why did you not call us? Have you ever seen people get success? I mean, like people that like make it famous, people that do stuff like that. People that they never talk to come, hey, we should have hung, why didn't you call? Why didn't you tell? I would have helped. Or when you move, you get those people after you move, oh, you should have called, I would have helped. And it's like, I did call you, you didn't answer. I sent you a text, did you not get it? Like, oh, I must not have got it, my phone's having problems. Like, I imagine that's the communication, how that went, right? Jeff's like, well, I called you guys, I left a message, I never heard back. So instead of waiting for them to defeat them, Jeb's like, we took our life in our own hands and said, we're just going to go do this ourselves. That's a place where I think a lot of us can feel familiarity with. There are times, I think our society is one with around us, and where our culture and the way that we're raised up, especially in America, that there are some things that we are expected to be given and expected to receive. Not everyone believes the same way, but it seems like as a whole, our culture expects certain things. They expect to get warnings, like the reminders, stuff like that. I have several friends, one who I'm traveling with tomorrow, where I know like sometimes it's like, hey, I'll shoot him a reminder because life gets busy, right? I want him to remind me of stuff. Kristen and me joke around, and she's like, oh, remind me of this. It's like, yeah, because I'll remember. We have to have these reminders. So they were mad, though, because they went and fought and won. It wasn't like they went and fought and lost. It wasn't because they went and fought and were defeated and were plundered and they ruined their whole town. They were just mad because they weren't included. They wanted to be included. They wanted to be a part of it. They wanted to be a part of the victory, because who doesn't want to be included when it comes to a win? Right? If you follow football at all, the Patriots got rid of their backup quarterback. He went from being on the team that is with the tied for the most winning record in football right now, to the team with the worst record. He went from a 6-2 team to a 0-8 team. I was thinking, okay, this guy makes a lot more than I make. Probably, I think the bare minimum he makes $1 million a year as a backup quarterback. So he's making in excess of that. And all he has to do is sit there and watch Tom Brady play football until Tom Brady deflates a ball or something and gets kicked out of games for a few weeks and he goes back in there. That's his whole job. Instead, he's going to go from being that guy getting to sit, watch games, to going to a losing team. But you would think he'd be mad, right? I would think I'd be mad. I'd be like, I'd rather sit on the bench and get paid than be on this worst football team. He was excited to go. He was ready to go. You want to know why he was so excited, though? He wanted to play. He wanted to be involved. He wanted to participate. He didn't care that he had no chance of going to the playoffs. He didn't care that he had no chance of having a winning record. They're 0-8. The best he can do is 500 because there's only 16 games. But he wanted to be involved so bad that he's willing to sacrifice what he would make the same thing and sacrifice body and limb because they're not the greatest team, so they're going to be able to get to the quarterback just to be involved. Instead of accepting what he could do to get nothing. That's where we fall a lot of times. It's even if something is worse for us, if something is bad for us, I'd rather do it and be involved than do this and do nothing. Or we fall to the other side. I'd rather, like I said, if I was his backup quarterback, I'd be like, I'm cool here. I'm making money. I'm not having to do much. I show up and play in practices. That's all I got to do. I mean, he started, like in the last 4 or 5 years, I think he started 8 games. That's it. And they play 16 a year. So it's either I want to be involved so much that I will do anything, even if it is not good for me, or you fall on the side of I want to do nothing and receive the same benefit as if I did something. And that's where the change comes. No one would help, no one would fight, so they had to do it themselves. Life throws curveballs at you like that. Life likes to bring things to you. And if you've never had one of these moments, which I'm sure all of us have had, where it's like, I either have to do this and do it myself, or no one's going to do it. I say that a lot to myself at work. If I don't do it, no one's going to. I got to make sure it gets done. My dad is the same way in his company. When he is off on vacation, he still gets phone calls a few times a day of like, hey, how should we do this? What do you want me to do? And my dad's like, just pick what is best and do it. Like, what do you think we should do? Just do it. Like, it's okay. But he still gets the calls. Because it is easier for us to stand back and allow someone else to make the decisions than fight. It's easier for us to look at those and say, change the situation. Change the situation I'm in. Change it. If you call the shots, you're changing the situation. I don't have to be in charge. But I think what we need to do as a society, as a people, as a Christian culture, as a time that is changing, is we don't need to be so focused on asking God to change our situation as much as we need to be focused on asking God to change ourselves. If you're asking God to change your situation, what are you asking for? And that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes our situations need changed. Sometimes we just need to change ourselves. We need to make movement. We need to find where we can change. Have you been there before where you just like, I know I need to fix this. I know I need to do something else. And then someone else is like, I have to take it. I have to get it. No matter what it takes, I'm going to do it. There's always this side of the coin. So here's Ephraim. They come up and said, you won. You got this without my help, and now I'm going to burn your house down. That's kind of an extreme answer to that. I feel like it escalated rather quickly. He's like, we're going to burn your house down because you went out and fought a battle and won without us. Does that make sense to anybody else here? That's the immediate reaction to them. We're going to burn your house down. So obviously Jeb didn't take it well. Jeb, we called you, we asked you to come and help, and you didn't come. And now you're mad that we won, and we didn't include you. How many of you have been in that spot? You go out, you make something of yourself, you do something, you win at something, you succeed, you get good grades in school, you do whatever it is that you're well at, you're doing really good at it, and someone gets mad and comes up against you and says you didn't earn it, you didn't deserve it, you didn't get it because of this, you got that promotion because you're buddy with this person, or you got that degree because of this, or it's because your mommy and daddy paid for everything, or whatever. Have you ever been told any of those things? I have. I've been told almost all of those things, probably this year, because those always come up. And that's where the change just needs to happen. If you're looking around and you look at other people and you're thinking, they didn't get that because of this, they didn't get that because of that, they didn't include me, they have all of this and they never give anything, they're never charitable, they're never whatever it is, and you're constantly looking at that and the situations in that manner, maybe it's not your situation that needs to change. Maybe it's you, it's your heart, it's in yourself. Because I'm willing to bet all of us could sit here and we could think of one thing that someone has said to us in the recent past and say, you didn't blank. You didn't earn it, you didn't get it. It was given to you, someone helped you, you went to an easy school, you and insert blank. But yet, as he may be a leader of a merry band of bandits, he did not stand back and say, there's nothing I can do. He said, I can go. I took my life in my own hands and said, I will go. He was ready. He was willing. He was able. Do you think when he went to the battle, you think he was praying? We have too few of people. Because if he called, he wanted help. He called because he's like, we need more men. We need more people to come to this battle. We need more to come, more to prepare. And if you look back previously, he was praying. And things happened, and he was praying. But he wasn't just asking God to change his situation, though. He's asking God to change his situation. He's asking God to change him. You know, if this is the path, show me the path. If this is the way, show me the way. Oftentimes, we get so busy on focusing what we don't want to happen, we never look at what we do. We're thinking, we can't let them get this because they will win. We can't let them get this because this will happen. We can't let them do this because they'll succeed, or they'll be happy in this, or they'll be well in this, or they'll be even better. But instead of looking at others saying, they shouldn't have, they shouldn't have, they shouldn't have, what are we looking at ourselves with? What do we think that we somehow deserve? Something I was always taught as a kid was that the only thing we ever deserve are the things that usually aren't very good. Those are the things we've earned. You deserve punishment. You deserve that speeding ticket. You deserve the careless driving. You deserve to be in detention for talking back to a teacher. You deserve to be in trouble for missing school, for being late. All of those happen. All of those have happened. And most of the time, we deserve punishment. The punishment is never an issue of, do we deserve the punishment? Do we not deserve it? Have we earned it? Have we not earned it? I've never argued the fact that what I received, I didn't earn. Maybe I would have argued that it was too severe of a punishment. Or I know like one time in school I got an in-school suspension for something my friend did. He was late for class and somehow she wrote down that I was late for class, so who served in-school suspension? This guy. And that's okay, because here's my thoughts. He was a starter on the varsity basketball team, and I don't play basketball anymore. If he was suspended, I guess how many games he would miss? A few. So I was like, I'll take it. Some might call that a good friend, that guy. If you don't know his name yet, it's Jonathan. We've been around each other for a long time. So we have served and helped each other, and he would do the same thing for me in those situations. But instead of asking God to change my situation, you just kind of grit and bear it. It was kind of wobbly. As Karen comes up, I know it was short, and that's intentional, and that's okay. As Karen comes up, I want you guys to think about this. If you don't know God, if you don't have a relationship with God, I invite you to pray. We have altars now, an altar. Daniel recovered it, and it looks wonderful. We have an altar. If you need to pray, you can pray. You don't have to use chairs anymore. You can use it. It's freshly covered, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you don't know God, you don't have a personal relationship, or if you do and you need to renew it, you feel like maybe I've gone away. If there's things in your life that you know that it needs to change in you, not a change in God, but a change in you, I invite you to pray. I think a lot of times we pray, and Ron kind of hit it on the head when we pray. Earlier we were talking, he said, we usually ask God for a lot of stuff. It's ask. Can you give? Can you give? Can you give? Give us this, give us this, give us this. I don't think that ever deters God to ask. I don't think there's anything we can say that he'll be like, you shouldn't have asked for that. We may feel like there's things that we shouldn't have asked for that we did, but you can pray, and you can ask, and you can receive. If you need to change your situation and it needs to change, ask God for guidance. If you need you to change, ask God to lead you. As Karen plays, the altar is open.